Ellie, Tom Hitchcock, how you doing?
Really good, mate. Thanks for inviting me here.
You're more than welcome. How do I pronounce the surname? I know you just said it and I didn't listen properly, so I'm guilty.
It's GESCHEIT.
GESCHEIT. Okay, fantastic. Whereabouts are you based, Ellie?
So, listen, living in St Ives, so in North Shore in Sydney.
Okay, lovely. Well, listen, thanks in advance for being on this podcast. You and I don't know each other, so we literally record our conversation when you sharing your story. So I'm excited to hear it. Without further ado, please introduce yourself.
Well, yeah, thanks again for inviting me here, Tom. Really appreciate it. So name's Eli GESCHEIT, town planner. Been doing this for about 20 years, father of three kids. And I've just had a very interesting journey, from when I was for the last 40 years. I just turned 40 in December. So I've now reached my fourth decade, and I've gone through quite an experience, as well as growth. I would say probably that's something that's not out of the ordinary. There's no surprises in my story really, but being as in my role as a town planner. Um, Certainly, I've learned a lot over the years in running my practice for almost 11 years. But I guess I'm the type of person that likes to grow personally, in various ways. I don't like to stay put and just doing the same thing every day. And I guess in my line of work, I've got the ability to keep evolving and learning new things.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to try and join the dots here somewhat. Okay. I'm looking forward to hearing this interesting journey that you've had. But you've got this cohabitation of having this planning element by definition on your profession, but also your predetermination for growth. Okay. So is it fair to say you have a proactive approach as to what you intend to grow in and year on year?
In some sense, yes, and also obviously as a practicing observant Jew, um, I guess it's kind of not drilled into us, but it's part of our culture. Let's say that we're kind of never satisfied with the status quo, in terms of not just religious pursuit, but also professionally and family and relationships too. So I do. So yeah, I guess we're all trying to grow in some areas, but I guess from a religious point of view too, that's something that's inculcated within the Jewish religion.
Okay. Can you give us some examples what you're probably sort of looking to circumnavigate in that respect now?
Yeah, so like I wasn't always religious. I didn't always have a beard, believe it or not. Even when I was born, I didn't have a beard. But I did grow up in let's say a traditional Orthodox Jewish home where we celebrated, Passover, the major festivals and things like that. But as I grew older, my family grew also. I was probably maybe about 12 or so where we started becoming more observant and religious. So that's, I guess, one part of the growth in terms of connecting the dots too. And slowly but surely, it became a journey of, my family became religious, but I took it on, I guess, let's say, a different level. Like if you look at my father, he doesn't look like me. He doesn't have hair, but he doesn't have a beard. So we do it in different ways, but obviously under the same banner. Let's call it. Um, and yeah, that's kind of well, one I guess journey that I've been involved with.
And what would have been the catalyst for that type of decision making?
Well, yes, people have all these crazy stories that happened. They saw this, they went to this motivational speaker, or I know people that met a famous rabbi, a rabbi called Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, who is the leader of the Lubavitcher movement. He passed away in 1994. So people looked at him, they looked at his eyes, and they're like, "Oh wow, I'm going to be religious." I didn't have that privilege of meeting him or having that aha moment that some people talk about. I guess it was a slow journey, in that, we had a synagogue nearby that was relatively new, and we started going there. And I think it was my mother that probably started the journey for the family, becoming more observant and doing different things that we weren't doing before. Um, yeah, so there wasn't. I don't think in terms of my religious growth, there wasn't one particular moment. But yeah, we did go to Israel, and that gave us more of a connection too. I remember at one point, I think my first time to Israel might have been 12 or so, and I didn't wear this thing on my head. It's called a kippah, which is, reminds us that there's a God above us. And I remember at one point, I never wore one of these properly before, but when we were walking around the streets of probably Jerusalem, I was wearing one of these, and I remember my dad said to me, you can take that off now." I'm like, "No, no, it's okay." So it was a very slow journey, but and I'm still growing in my religious um, life also.
Okay. And how do you feel this has impacted your personal and professional life?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. So in the Jewish religion, right, there's a lot of commandments, things that you should do and things you shouldn't do. One of the there's quite a lot. I don't want this to turn into a religious discussion. Maybe that's for another podcast. But there's a lot around humanity and being a good person, basically, as well as not cheating in business, for example, being honest. And I think that's partly one of the reasons my clients come to me. They know I'm a religious person. I'm not going to be dodgy or something like that. But there are aspects where you can integrate, I guess, your Jewish and religious values into your business and your work life, rather than these two things being separate. Some religions and some people have, I'm religious, I have to stay out of the community. I'm doing this, and that's the only thing that counts. Rather, our and my belief too is that you can I guess have the best of both worlds, and that's what I guess I try to do.
Okay. So you have your own business, okay, which I always commend. I like it when people do this and sustain it. What's been a trend for quite some time now is the business articulates its values. So it has it on the walls, it has it on the website, it has it in the documentation. Um, does your business have values?
It probably does. I've never really written it before. I guess I would call it probably a small business. I've got four other staff contractors working for me, so it's quite a nimble business. Don't really have an office since COVID. I gave up the office, so we're all working remotely. But the values, well, it's probably embedded in the business name. The business is called Navon Planning. Navon is a Hebrew word. We started off the conversation, what's my surname? So my name is it's GESCHEIT. It's a strange sounding name. In fact, it's a German name, even though that my family were originally from Hungary. So probably 200 plus years ago, a lot of Hungarians took on German names for family names for whatever reason. But interestingly, the name in German is translated to clever or smart. I'm still trying to live up to my name, being clever and smart. And so what happened was, probably behind the business name is probably one of the key values that we have, is that in 1948 I had family that from Europe, from Hungary, had moved to Israel, and when you move to a new country with a funny sounding surname, you try adapt, I guess. So there were some family members that changed their name from GESCHEIT to Navon, and Navon in Hebrew means clever.
Okay.
That's kind of the connection there. We're Navon Planning, so it's kind of a bit of the take on it is really we try and give clever planning solutions to clients. Whether it's to mum and dad trying to renovate their home, or a property developer building a 10-story building. So we try, the value in that is to be clever, kind of think outside the box. Yeah.
Okay. And do you find in the realms of where you work that because you're outward with your religion, do you think a lot of your customers end up also being Jewish as well?
You would think that the majority of my clients are not Jewish. In some respects, that's better. I tell people that's better because otherwise there's a bit more pressure, like for you to perform well, and if the job doesn't go too well, they'll tell their friends and whatever. Might be someone I personally know also. The majority of my clients are not Jewish. I've got clients of all faiths and backgrounds: Christian, Islam, Muslim, everything, Hindu. Got a lot of clients from various backgrounds. But I think, yeah, it could be that the one thing that attracts them is that I'm religious, and that there's that sense of probably trust, because trusting someone with their home. Their home is the most expensive asset that they're ever going to own. Usually, it's something, that I guess that would have a bit more trust in me.
Okay. And you talked about growth previously. What does the future hold for you in the business? Maybe 5 years time and that.
Yeah, the business has been going for about 11 years. This year will be 11 years. Business, well, it's kind of gone up and down, the business, just like any other business. So there's always a sense for growth. There has been an objective to possibly branch out to other geographical areas like Melbourne. That's one element of possible growth, as well as a growth in other services that we offer to clients. The core focus for probably the last 9 years, I would say, has been about development applications, where people get approvals, but probably the last 2 years or so, there's been growth in terms of people trying to, because we all know councils take a terrible amount of time to approve things. So there's an ability to kind of fast track an approval through something called a complying development. I don't know if you've heard of that before, but you can essentially bypass council as long as you tick all the boxes to certain controls. You can get an approval within a matter of weeks. So there has been quite a bit of interest in that space from our clients, and that's an area that we're looking to grow even more.
Okay. All right. That sounds interesting and good for you. Okay. As we wrap up, anybody listening to this, they like your story and they've probably got a need for your business. What would be the best way for them to reach out to you?
Well, I'm most active on LinkedIn, so they can find me there. Otherwise, if they just want to look, you can send me an email. My email address is eli @nevonplanning.com.au.
Too easy. Make sure when we publish this that you put your details in the comments, and I'm sure people will reach out to you because it's definitely a market where people do need help.
Sure.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Thanks again for your time.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
Thank you for watching this episode. I hope that you did enjoy it, had lots of takeaways from it. As before, please subscribe below so you can keep on top of any new releases we have. And also, if you would like to have your story told, just reach out with me and I'd love to give you that platform. My best email address is tom@purplepatchconsulting.com. Thank you.